I do believe that even despite the weather, the Presbyterians have arrived, and we have a quorum. Let's open with a quick word of prayer. Holy God, we give you thanks for the ministries that we have been able to provide here in this context over the past year. Join us as we celebrate in that work, and give us wisdom as we discern how to move forward in ministry this coming year. Help us to ask good questions and learn ways to live together in community and in witness. Be with us this morning as we have our annual required meeting, but may it be a little bit more joyful than just plain old in order and required. Amen. All right, first thing is to vote on our consent agenda, receiving all of the minutes and reports and such that are in here. And that does include receiving the budget. However, there will be conversation, if you want, about budget in a little bit. So is there a motion to receive the annual report? And is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? All righty, the motion carries. I don't believe there's any old business, but in the new business, let's invite Jim McCracken up if you feel prepared to speak about the budget a little bit, or should we ask if anyone has questions first? It's always helpful just at least to hear a little bit. Let me get you a microphone. Oh, John has them. Okay, there you go.
That working? Okay. We had a few copies of the budget back there. I don't know if anybody picked them up or not. This is separate from the annual report that you have stapled together there. Basically, for the upcoming year, 2026, we had a slight dip in pledge activity. Now, the good news is we always come in, fairly close to that number. There's not a big drop-off during the year. And there are also other sources of revenue, gifts and things that we don't budget for because they've come in the past, but we cannot guarantee that and we have no assurance that they will continue to come in. The only other thing we show from a budgetary standpoint is the rent we're now receiving from Milwaukee Youth Theater. We have not budgeted for anything for the kitchen project because we do not know when that will start and how much that will really amount to. The kitchen project is an open question because there are potential expenses on our part that we really haven't gotten a handle on yet, and finance will be working to try and quantify that as the year goes on. There may not be, utilities, for instance. There's probably going to be using more natural gas, electricity. Insurance is an open item. The insurance company will not give us a quote on what we're going to have to pay when this kitchen project is in full operation. Apparently they want to come look at it and see what we're doing before they make any type of commitment. So these are all open items. So the bulk of our expenses are for personnel. We in some cases this year we think we've overestimated a little bit because Pastor Janine will be using more students and high school students, college students, part-timers, people like that to work on these various programs that we have going, and they will be paid an hourly wage and they're not permanent. So there's control over it. We've advanced along the learning curve for the compassion camp. So I think this year we'll, either break even or make a small profit. When I say small, I mean $100, something like that. Nothing to move the needle, but we're not having an outlay to cover any deficit. There's also talk of a after-school program, maybe starting in the fall. That's still a work in progress, and that will be constructed to operate at least on a break-even basis. So even though it's not budgeted for, we don't anticipate having to put out anything for it. So the other big thing is, as I've alluded to, is building costs. The unknowns are always, what kind of repairs are going to pop up. We're going to be paying more this year for heat because it's been colder out. Just like you're seeing on your heat bills that come into your house, it's more this year. This is a normal winter. I think people have forgotten what normal winters are in Wisconsin over the past few years, because we haven't had one. And this is what they look like, so in case anybody's forgotten. And I'm not even a Wisconsin native, so. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions about anything. Nothing? Maybe I better get out of here before somebody thinks of one. All right, thank you very much.
And thank you for all of the work that you do. I think
It approved unanimously.
Happy to serve you all for another year. Okay, so while they're not specifically on our agenda, I think that people know that we're going to have some kitchen updates. So do you want to get your computer plugged in, Roger? And then Ed, do you want to come give us more of a construction spiel? And I think there's room to put the little board up. Would that help if people saw that? You want to help me do that real quick, Ed?
Kitchen update. There's a two-page report in the annual report here about where we are. There's one typo in there that drastically changes the meaning of a sentence. It's historic, though. It goes back to our original agreement with the village that they would not enforce the code compliance issues that started all this a number of years ago. So where we are today is that all of the plans are completed. The village remarkably turned the approval around on the plans in about 36 hours, which we were all kind of surprised at. The architect, Nick Megan, and I had met with the village inspector before the plans were submitted and went through them thoroughly with him, so there were no surprises. He was alerted to it in advance. The contractor, Productive Builders, the folks we've been working with for years, are wrapping up the final budget right now that they have the final plans. I know that they had several questions, particularly for the structural engineer, and those questions went back to him, I think it was Thursday, and I know that he's working on his response. So my guess is that by the end of this coming week, we will likely have our final budget. There were a couple of surprises that we had not anticipated, and that there are some structural work that needs to be done to the roof up in the area behind the tower. The 75 or 78-year-old 2x8s that are up there are not strong enough to support the rooftop unit that's going to go up there, so they're calling for a couple of steel beams to go in and some other stuff. We're going to be ripping out areas of the ceiling in the second floor to get in there, and that was something we had not anticipated. The other item that we had not anticipated was that for Joby to operate her business in the kitchen, all of the existing cabinetry needs to come out because none of it is code compliant for a commercial kitchen. So we've started doing that. We're going to maintain or keep the stainless steel counters. I'm having my guys who do all of my metal work create some legs for the counters. We'll buy some stainless steel wire shelving, which we can get from Uline, and then replace all of that all the existing cabinetry with those pieces. So, yeah, it'll be a few $1,000, but it's not going to be overwhelming, but it's just one of those things that we had not been aware of until Joby had the health inspector, thank you, come through and look at the kitchen. Where we stand right now with the plans are that they are with North Shore Fire. They need to review the plans and approve them after the village is complete, so those plans are in with the fire department right now for their review. I don't know if they're going to want to come in and look at the kitchen. One of their inspectors was here just before Christmas and did look at the kitchen. We went through the plans with him, so my guess is they'll be fine without it. Once that review is complete and we have the final budget from Productive, we can then proceed with a final contract with them and pull the building permit, and work will begin at that point. Once work begins, Productive is telling me 6 weeks or so to get everything done. We're hopeful that everything will be underway by sometime within the first 2 weeks or so of February. So we're looking at maybe an end of March, maybe a little bit early into April completion. So, any questions? Awesome.
Well, good morning. My name is Roger Jones. If you don't know who I am, a fairly new member. And I'm here to talk about one part of it. As you can see, it's a rather comprehensive project, but one of the things that has to occur, as with the very inception of this church over 100 years ago, was a capital campaign to get the funds to help pay for everything that was just explained. My background in my career has been in marketing and branding, so I'm volunteering to help out with the marketing for getting money for the capital campaign. So just make sure you're aware of the scope of how I'm helping. This is just a short presentation. We wanted to get everyone involved because everyone will be involved. Essentially, by being members of the church, you are kind of called upon to be advocates for this throughout the community. And the funding will really, really help make this probably more, I guess you'd say, more effective for the church. And I've entitled this "What's Cooking?" Because there's a lot going on. You just heard that, and I think it's a marvelous concept. And let me get on this other side here. So I'm here to talk about how we're going to create marketing communications to entice people to contribute money. Now, you might think that, oh, that's going to be easy. Who wouldn't want to give money to a church for a fantastic project like this? Well, there's a million reasons why they wouldn't or couldn't. So we want to make sure that we've got respectful, thoughtful communications that can entice might seem a little bit too strong, but compel them to help contribute to this really worthwhile community effort. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this situation and process. We're going to conduct some workshops. There's a small task force involved on that. We'll talk about the scope of this part of the project and then the timeline and next steps. And you can ask questions throughout, but I do have a slide where we will park on for particular questions. I think everyone's aware of this situation, that this concept was developed. And the thing that, as a person in marketing, that's quite amazing is that you have the concept and you're going to build this, but it's not we're going to build it and hope they come. You already have a customer for it, which is quite amazing. If you're out in business and you're launching a new effort, you're always trying to entice customers. Well, you have a baked in, no pun intended, a baked in customer, which I think is just fantastic. And we'll be able to work, I think, in a really neat relationship with Joby from a marketing standpoint, which we've talked about as it's synergistic, symbiotic, all of the above. But it's a really unique situation to be in, I think, where you've got that built in. One of the things that in my background, I developed a model for developing marketing communications, and it's called the Brand Asset Management Model. Don't get turned off by the word brand, but day in and day out, I mean, churches do function as an entity. They are like a brand. They have to be known for something. They've got to get money somehow. So you really do behave and act with the same principles that you use for managing brands. So we'll conduct workshops. We've got a task force that's going to be involved in that. And it was funny, when I was first talking about this, I said, well, is this group by nature collaborative, and do they want to work for consensus? And it was like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. Yes, we're collaborative. Yes, we work for consensus. So I think that's going to come quite naturally. One of the objectives of the project, and if you can read it, I'll just highlight them. We want to work in a collaborative fashion. One, because there are so many people with such rich insights into the kitchen, into the church, into the community, that we've got to tap into that. The other thing is we want to ensure clarity, because everybody's going to have to be an advocate for this, and that the kicking off the shared kitchen, getting it built, getting Joby in here is really just the beginning. That for it to take hold, for it to enrich the community, that's going to take constant, perpetual communication as well. So we want to be thinking about this long term. We've got to make sure we're very clear on what it is. We have to define it. And we want to make sure that we really understand kind of the hearts and minds of the people that we're going to be reaching out to. Not the individuals per se, but the archetype. What's going to motivate them? As you'd like to think that it's just altruism, helping a church is going to push them over the edge. It probably won't. That'll be one part of it. We have to make sure that we know that there's some things that they can hold on to that will motivate them either personally or for the business if they're taking money from their business to contribute. And then we've got to make sure that we're creating compelling messaging to elicit the contributions. And more than the contributions, they, by making a financial contribution, become advocates too. So think about that too. It's really, with these types of efforts, the advocacy is so important that they're out there in the community talking this up in a positive fashion. There's 3 main steps to this, and I just showed it to you just out of curiosity. You might find it interesting. When we go through the workshops, and I think you've got this pretty tightly wired. People pretty much know what the business strategy is, but we want to make sure that we're clearly communicating that with some of the key principles of what comprise a business strategy. And we'll be doing this in conjunction with Joby too, because she's an integral part to the success of the shared kitchen. The other thing we'll do is we're going to make it very clear of a sharp articulation of what do we have to offer. This isn't just a commercial grade kitchen. It's way beyond that. So we have to make sure that we understand what it's contributing to the community, the emotional attachment that it's going to have, and make sure that we know how we want it positioned long term, just like you position a product or a company, something like that, so that this is the only one. I learned that it's the first and only one in the North Shore. So anytime in branding or marketing you can be the first and only, that's usually a good thing. So I just think it's in a great spot. And then the third part is to make sure that we are really unpacking what's inside the hearts and minds of the people that we're going to be eliciting funds from. So you can kind of see what happens. Make sure we understand the business strategy, articulate what we have to offer. Let's really understand who we're going to reach out to, and that's kind of the nexus where all of this lines up. And then we'll develop compelling messages that will have to get pushed out into the community. Timing-wise, this is an important, I guess you could consider this the kickoff. We wanted to make sure we were sharing this with everyone, see if there's any questions. It won't take a very long time. The biggest challenge in these things is always aligning schedules for the people that are going to be contributing. But I think that following today, we can probably move pretty quickly on that, whether it's through Leanne or whomever. I don't know that for sure. One of the things that we'll be doing is we'll do the workshops. We'll be able to report at any time what's going on, what we've accomplished. And the other thing too, you see down at the bottom, at some point, there's going to have to be an outreach team. And I contend you're all part of the outreach team, and that you will be given kind of the talking points, what we're all trying to be on the same page to say, because then it's compounded and it's more effective if we're all saying the same thing. But there will be others that are going to have to be more directly pushing this out, finding the people to ask, and then hopefully getting them to contribute. So we'll pretty much know who the participants are in the workshop. We'll get those scheduled, we'll conduct the workshops, we'll develop the messaging. And as part of this, we're going to come up with some type of compelling, interesting theme. So this should be fun and kind of inspirational. We will make sure and pledge that we'll do that the personality and the spirit of this comes through. With that, if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them and attempt to answer them. Yes?
So the goal amount is $120,000, correct?
So this part is like part one to the whole project, and I think partly the financy folks, which you are part of, I think, of the endowment, or the capital campaign group will have to sort of figure that out in conjunction with Ed's numbers as they come out. But I think that's roughly the cost of the kitchen as of right now, right, Ed, 120?
So 120 is what we were using as a placeholder a couple of months ago when we started this. As I mentioned before, there are a couple of things that have come up that we had not anticipated. The steel that's got to go up there, the kitchen cabinetry, things like that. So what Productive is working on right now is updating that final number. The number for the hood and that installation, the architectural number, the engineering number, none of those are going to change. It's the other general construction that has to go around the hood to make it possible to have the hood in place and all the other stuff that goes with it. That's the variable we're trying to figure out right now. And again, I'm hopeful that Ben will have that done by the end of this week. If it's not this week, it'll be sometime early next week.
Sounds good. Yes. Bob?
Is the objective of the capital campaign to raise all the money for this project and others?
I think that would be generally the hope. Again, once our more finance people of the capital campaign get together, that'll be something that they kind of put together. But that's the members of session, raise your hand if I'm wrong, but that was our initial intent, was to have at least, I'm seeing some nods, at least the cost of the kitchen.
So financially, the legacy fund will not be paying for this?
If we need it to. That will be another, like if we need, yes, if we need it to. Partly the goal of the capital campaign is to take some relief from the legacy fund. Because as of right now, the plan is we'll use the legacy fund. But if we can get funds through a capital campaign, that will decrease the amount we have to pull from legacy. Did you have a thought, Ed, you want to add to that?
So to kick off the capital campaign, many of the women here, or a number of the women here have been part of an electronic conversation about what to do with the remaining funds that are sitting in the Women's Association Fund. And the consensus was that those funds should be used for the kitchen renovation. I think it was like $6,500 or something like that. That could certainly be kind of a kickoff to the capital campaign as their contribution into that pool of funds.
Sounds good. Was there yes, David, can you add to that?
It's not really a question, but a clarification that for cash flow purposes, we will have to pay for the kitchen from the legacy fund. Yes, okay. So the goal is that as we raise this money, as it comes in over a period of, it could be years, right? But that it would be replaced in the legacy fund.
David, we had already paid, I think it was 60% of the cost of the hood contractor already.
That was in 2025?
Yes, that was. Yes, I don't recall the exact amount, but it's somewhere in that range. Just a percentage of their total is $68,000 for that portion of the work or something like that. We've also had some payments to the architectural team that's working on this, the architect and engineer. We have not paid anything in 2025 to Productive Builders for this yet. So all of their expenses will be incurred in 26 along with the balance for the mechanical contractor.
Thank you for that. Any other? Yes, I'm going to give you this one.
More of a comment. I just want to thank you, Roger, for sharing your gifts and talents with the Covenant family. It's exciting to have an organized and inspiring presentation for us to build on, and to thank everyone on the session and in the congregation that is leveraging significant talent to help us do a wonderful thing. So just want to say thank you.
I agree, and that was going to be my conclusion too, is thank you to, we are so incredibly blessed with so much talent in this congregation to put all of this together. I get the fun job to come in with ideas, and it's really great to have like particular types of people who are good at mobilizing ideas when they're realistic.
I
I just want to make sure that there's not a capital project creep that adds to more projects into it. When we did the capital campaign for the elevator, it ended up being for the elevator and for other things that got added onto it. In fact, giving money to the community was part of the capital. I hope that it will stay a capital campaign for just the kitchen.
I appreciate that comment. Thank you, and that will be definitely something that we keep in mind. As of right now, that is the plan, is that it will be kitchen focused. Okay, so we will thank you again for presenting, Roger, and for Ed for your update. We will continue updates on both of these types of things, both process of the kitchen and process of the marketing thing, and as it gets passed off to the more actual fundraising. So thank you once again. Read your emails, stuff like that. I think that's all our business, and I think we're all getting hungry. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Wonderful. Second. Wonderful. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries, and let's pray. Holy God, we give you thanks for all that you have blessed us with and for your bounty, and we ask that you continue to be with us and help us to wisely discern the best way to steward all of the abundance that we have been given. We ask that you bless the food that we are about to eat and the fellowship that we will have with one another, plus the hands that have created and the food that has been provided from the earth. Amen.
Let's eat. Could I say something about those changes? Well, we've all heard that we've emptied shelves and things are different. So there is no banquet table that we are used to doing. We will be serving from the kitchen. And so there is a kitchen counter that is serving as the buffet counter. Everybody will file through the kitchen to get their food and carry it to the main hall to a table.
Thank you to all who have rallied to put this together to whatever extent it needs to be, because it's different today. One last look at the kitchen as it stands.